Welcome to Overwhelmed to Overcomer podcast with coach, encourager, and strategist Anna McLaughlin. If you're a Christian woman who has big dreams rooted in an even bigger God, but most days those dreams feel completely out of reach, trust me, I get it. As a homeschooling mama of 4, entrepreneur, investor, and all around wearer of many hats, I am right there with you. And yet the Lord invites us to live out our God-given purpose now in the midst of the madness. So let's explore together how we can know our calling and walk in it today with clarity, with courage, with each other. It's time for you to live the life you love and love the life you live. Let's do this thing. Hello, friend, and welcome to Overwhelmed to Overcomer, where we just handle the business before the Father. We find our place of belonging. We show up to our lives with courage, and we take care of what the Father has placed in our hands to do. It's starting to warm up. All you homeschool mamas are starting to dwindle to the very end of the curriculum. And maybe those of you who have kiddos in school are feeling that intense final crazy that comes with all of the activities, all of the school visit days, and whatever all else you guys have going on. So, one of the things that starts to come around this time of year, which I was reminded as I was talking to a friend of mine, is we start to really visit all the people. We start to do all of the activities. The sun comes out. We start to hang out with people we haven't hung out with in a while. And maybe we're reminded, oh, this is why it's been a minute since we connected. Beautiful, difficult people. And maybe if we can find a little grace in our hearts, we recognize it's not so much that they are difficult. It's that the stories we tell ourselves and the things that we bring to the table just kind of get caught on their little snags. Each of us has what I call weak ankles. And man, when those things intersect, when one person's little trigger points match up with another person's little trigger points, it can get real interesting real fast. Now, I've come a long way, baby, but there was actually a time where I truly believe that I had a pretty good shot of being diagnosed with a personality disorder. The Lord healed me dramatically in my 20s through prayer, deliverance, fasting, so much. And you can go to kind of the earlier episodes of this podcast if you want to hear any of those early days stories. But because that was my life for so long, I know a thing or two about navigating challenges in relationships because oftentimes I, in fact, was the challenge. My relationship with my very own self was one of the most difficult things I had to navigate. Anybody besides me? So we're going to just dip into this conversation today because it's something I've actually worked a lot on. And I was thinking as I was talking to a friend about her own little tricky relational moment, I was like, man, it's been a minute. I don't think I've really covered this topic in detail. And it's one I'm very passionate about because when we can learn to give each other room, then we actually can have more love and companionship and fellowship in our lives, more grace for ourselves and for our fellow human beings, more grace for our children, because hello, is anything more difficult than a toddler at times, especially when it's hot and it's snack time or it's lunchtime or it's nap time? Okay. Been there a few million times. Years and years ago, I was in therapy and my counselor told me, you know, I was griping about something. And he looked at me and said, you know, someone once told me by the time you're old enough to blame your parents, it's not their fault anymore. Well, take a guess at how much I liked that insight, but I found it to be true and so much more beyond that. Where we're blaming someone else, when we can put words to it, it's really not their fault. It's our perspective. It's our unwillingness to let go. It's our unwillingness to give them room to let them be. Brene Brown has this great description that she shares in, I'm trying to remember what book it was, Rising Strong, where and we delved into this a little bit a couple of episodes ago, where she talks about this concept of what if we believe that everybody is doing the best that they can. And in sharing that, so this was a thought that her therapist had presented to her that she basically hated. I don't like that idea. There's always room to grow. There's always room to improve. And not only that, but for her, reckoning with this really meant reckoning with her own judgments and resentments. If I really acknowledge that everybody's doing the best that they can, then I am at a severe deficit of extending grace and compassion, offering and extending grace and compassion. And so too with us. Wherever we are kind of beating our head against the wall. Oh, so here's where it comes up. Okay, so she hates this idea. She starts asking everybody throughout her research for clarity on this idea. What do you think? Do you really think that people are doing the best they can? And what she found she did not love, which was that the individuals, because she collects comprehensive qualitative data. So basically data in the form of story, in the form of narrative, and then analyzes the data. And what she found time and time again was that the people who were most inclined to say, yes, I believe that people are doing the best they can, were the most gracious, the most compassionate, and the most likely to be categorized by other markers in her research as what they termed wholehearted, which is really the people living life the way that she wanted to live, with courage, with compassion, with grace, with resilience, with this deeper presence, joy. And one of the men that she asked, I believe, worked in the military. She said, if you truly believed, so think of someone that really gives you a hard time. If you truly believed that he was doing the best he could with what he had, how would your behavior change? And what he said, I think, was so profound as we think about navigating these challenging dynamics in which we find ourselves at times, especially in these summer months where we're just hanging out a lot more, where there's a little bit more space to visit, to go and see all the people that we love, but often from a distance. He said, if I truly believed that he was doing the best he could, I'd have to move the rock. And she said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, he's not in the right position. And I keep trying to force it with feedback, with cajoling, with discipline, and with consequences. And if I really believed he was doing the best he could with what he had, I would put him in the position that best reflected his competencies, his abilities, his interests, whatever it was, rather than constantly kicking the rock. Because what happens when we kick a rock? We end up with a broken toe, right? It's not moving. Beth Moore said at one point, her daughter was fussing about something. This was years and years ago. As her daughter was complaining, wrestling, whatever it was, she said, baby, I don't think your circumstances are going to change anytime soon here. What do we need to just accept? It is what it is. They are who they are for now. And here's what's so interesting. We think once they change, then I'll be able to, whatever it is, fill in the blank. But the thing that's so surprising is when we actually stop and truly take the other person as they are. So often now, there's not this push-pull, this resistance place. And that's actually opening the path for true change in the relationship, whether that person changes or not. It's only when we take them as they are first that they can change. We see this in scripture. Think about the Samaritan woman at the well. It was only when Christ saw her as she was, took her as she was, and offered her complete love and compassion that she was able to stop hiding it, stop apologizing for it, stop ducking into the well at middle of the day. You don't go into a well, but she stopped going to the well in the middle of the day to avoid all the people, and she starts running after the people. This guy told me everything about myself. Is there any possible way that she wasn't radically transformed in that moment? She immediately starts advancing the kingdom because of her transformation, because she was first received as she was. She was radically changed, and because of her transformation, they had Christ stay there for a few days. She was the witness. And it was Christ taking her as she was that led to that transformation. We're called to do likewise, friend. And yet we're sure we're helping our people through our feedback, right? If they just saw, what do we actually want them to see? 9 times out of 10, the thing that we're giving them feedback on is how they affect us. If they weren't this way, wouldn't I feel better? Wouldn't I feel loved? Wouldn't I feel heard? Wouldn't I feel understood? Whereas when we can just sit with them and take them as they are and love them right there, all of a sudden they feel safe to look across at you and say, how are you really? When they feel heard first, when they feel seen first, when they feel received, enjoyed, then they're able to open up. I had a profound moment with a family member of mine, not a tricky situation, but I wanted so much for that person to see my perspective. And then we had a moment where all of a sudden she didn't see my perspective, she saw my heart. I was really worried about her. And I looked her in the eye and I said, you can't even know how much I love you. I was scared because I can't imagine life without you. You are so important to me. And I know this sounds quite dramatic, but it was just a small moment. It wasn't any sort of huge crisis or anything like that. But in that small moment where I could truly express my heart, out of that, shortly after, we sit down together and this person starts opening up their heart. And I hear things I've never heard before, just little things, kind of ordinary things. But that person was safe to reveal because they knew they're loved, they're valued, they're precious. Gosh, we forget, don't we? This is where the gospel starts and ends. There was a theologian once asked, I feel like I'm going like 15 different directions. Just hang with me. We got this. We'll go 15 different directions today. It's going to be great. I have a feeling we're going to need to cover this conversation some more because, gosh, relationships, they can be so dang hard. And we can walk around a little bit like the walking wounded, where it's almost like we're looking in at everybody else's windows at Christmas time. And we're seeing these beautiful tableaus of how we think their life is. Oh, it's so great. And always what we see that looks so fantastic is the thing we don't have, right? Oh, it's so great. You've got this help from your family. And what we don't see is the overreach, is the codependency or the lack of freedom. Oh, it's so amazing. You travel with your family all the time. What they don't see is, kind of the complications around money where some get paid for because they have need and others don't because they've stewarded their money well. What you don't see is the favoritism or the scapegoating or all of these different things. It's all going on underneath the surface. There's literally a spot, you guys. Friend, I don't like saying you guys to you. I want to talk just to you, friend, just to you. There's literally a spot at the base of our brainstem that knows our mother's scent and can be triggered and brought in an instant all the way back to our youngest memories, impressions, feelings of safety or lack thereof, feelings of being known and loved or lack thereof in an instant just by walking in the same room as her. We don't even know we've been hijacked and brought back 4 decades in an instant. All of a sudden, we're snapping at our kids, we're feeling insecure, we're feeling unsettled, or we're feeling safe and loved and cared about. Okay. Now, there's a particular type of something that we can find ourselves in that I want to make sure. I feel like I pulled on a thread and I didn't close it, but now it's over. We'll come back to it. Feel free to message me and be like, Anna, you never finished this piece right here. And we'll wrap it up next time. Okay. But we're going to keep on moving because there's one aspect I want to cover in particular, which is if you have any sort of family member, friend, loved one, whatever it is, that has any sort of personality disorder, mental illness, substance abuse, addictive tendencies, or was raised in that environment, if you find yourself going in circles, I'm going to give you a couple things on this one because this is particularly tricky to navigate. Okay. When we're in those, first of all, my dad was a psychologist and he had a lot of practice in navigating personality disorders and things of that nature. And he had this phrase I loved. Okay. Now, don't have your volume way up and don't have your phone right by your ear when you're listening to this. He says, navigating a relationship with someone, or he's like, here's my clinical diagnosis. This is what he would say. Here's my clinical diagnosis of someone with a personality disorder. And he'd just make that raspberry because that's how you feel. You're just like in the blender and trying to figure it out and completely confused and bewildered because you thought you knew what was going on and then it got turned on its ear. Okay, so the way to recognize that you're navigating something like this is there's a lot of confusion. There's a high degree of confusion. And the other thing is, things do not get resolved. So you might find that there was something that happened months, years, or decades ago that still gets brought up and pulled out. And it doesn't matter what you say to try to bring resolution and understanding to that thing. It's going to keep on coming up because, and this is so important to learn. It's not about resolution. When you're navigating those super tricky relationships, when there's any sort of personality disorder, substance abuse, etc., that in the manifestation of the disease, the goal is not to understand and be understood. The goal is a distorted version of connection and intimacy that is built on drama because we don't know how to connect through the real thing. Intimacy and vulnerability feels very unsafe. Drama, we got that. Okay? We know what to do with that. And I want to be very clear. I'm not outing anybody in my life, but I navigated this type of behavior myself. Okay? So I know it well. I wasn't trying to fix anything. I wanted to know I was loved because you loved me enough to fight with me. That's what I wanted. And I actually remember being in high school and having these like dreams of the guy that I would marry one day. And even in the proposal dream, we would have had this big, huge fight and he storms off. And then all of a sudden, just like say anything, the best 80s movie of all time. So if I haven't told you that on here already, which I know I have, he's outside my room with a boombox, outside my house with a boombox, holding it up over his head. And then it's just like the Notebook where it's raining and I come down and I'm finishing the fight and he's just like, but I love you. And then we end up married. Like literally, that's the dream. I had no idea. That was extremely unhealthy. So listen, it's important to know when you find yourself feeling like you're in a blender, like you're going round and round in circles and it's not going anywhere. It's because this is a bid for connection in an unhealthy way. Okay. So, what's the solution? My dad would tell me light and polite boundaries. Find a script and put it on repeat. Hey, Mama, let me ask you a question. When's the last time you gave yourself some white space? I am not talking about a trip to the bathroom alone or even the grocery store. When's the last time you had what I like to call some no one needs me time? For homeschooling entrepreneurs, time like this isn't a luxury. It's actually a key component to a healthy business, homeschool, and family life. So, if you're ready for your next respite, whether it's you by yourself, you and your spouse, or a family trip, join us at our peaceful haven, Just Like Paradise, located on gorgeous Oak Island, North Carolina. This 3-bedroom house is just a short walk to the ocean and nearby restaurants. It has a screened-in back porch with fireplace that is to die for, hot tub, and even a fire pit if you're feeling ambitious. Book through the link in the show notes, and then you have a unique discount code, podcast100, to get a $100 discount on your stay as a thank you for being one of my listeners. Get your next getaway on the calendar today. Find a script and put it on repeat. I'm sorry. I think we've already hashed that out. I don't think I have anything more to say about that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure we've already hashed that out. I don't have anything more to say about that. Again and again and again. Or if there's a boundary about, say, for example, You have a family member who just kind of stops by instead of calling ahead of time. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry, we're not available right now. Remember, we need to have a phone conversation before you come by. When would you like to get together next? Light, polite, detached, and neutral. Because here's the thing that we forget, we think we need to change their behavior for us to be okay. But we actually have absolutely no control over their behavior, absolutely none. Once we've decided, Brene Brown talks about this beautifully. Boundaries are simply here's what's okay and here's what's not okay. Once we've decided, here's what's okay, here's what's not okay, there's no fight. Oh, yep, that's not okay. It's just like training a dog. Do we get mad when our dog's like trying to run to the door? No, it's just not okay. Oops, come back. Remember, we sit. We sit when the doorbell rings. We can train our people the same way. And when we're neutral, it's boring, right? It's boring to get in these, to have these non-events. Oh yeah, that doesn't work for us. Thanks so much for stopping by. Right? There's no problem. It took 5 seconds of your life. You sent them away. Didn't work out. When would you like to come by next? Let's set a time. Okay, great. Look forward to that. And then when the boundaries respected, it's like Christmas, right? There's a fabulous organization that we've been a part of for many years called National Academy of Child Development. And it taught me so much about healthy relationships as well. And one of the things that they said is that children want high stimulation experiences. And so, this is why, if you're not really intentional in your parenting, you can actually end up with kind of like, what's the sweet word for it? Just kind of like your kid ends up being a bit of a rascal, right? Because they get a rise out of you. They get fussed at, they get scolded. And even though it's an unpleasant feedback, it's a high intensity feedback. And so they start to seek it and seek it and seek it because children want that high intensity experience. When we shift it and poor behavior is just like, oh, yep, you're not allowed to do that. Oh, do you need a timeout? Okay, go ahead and head to your room. When you're ready to behave, you come back on out again. Neutral, light, unaffected. And then when they do what you want, I am so proud of you. This is such a blessing. Go, put some coins in the reward jar or whatever the thing is. Celebrate like crazy. You know what? You guys have just been so incredible. I think we're going to do ice cream after lunch. I'm so proud of you for taking those dishes up. And we go nuts. It's the same with our tricky people. We're reparenting, right? Where we just go and we say, yep, that doesn't work for me. How about next Tuesday? And then when they actually show up next Tuesday instead of trying again on Monday, I am so glad we have this time together. Thank you so much for scheduling that time with us. It just helps us more than you can know. Light and polite on the boundary. Big, huge party when the boundary is honored. And then we become the broken records. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not available right now. It doesn't work when we don't have it on the schedule. When would you like to come over next? And we can even give them 3 options. They've got next Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Great. I can't wait. Okay, thanks for honoring the boundary. And then all of a sudden, you get a text. When would work for me to come by next? Why do we think we have to fight our way to transformation? When we change and we decide, I'm just going to take care of what I need to take care of instead of waiting for them to do it for me, all of a sudden, we actually become far more likely to get the thing we were hoping for anyway. Okay? So we're going to believe everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. When we're dealing with those really tricky personalities, we're going to stay light and polite on the boundaries, but we're going to be very clear. This is what I'm okay with. This is what I'm not okay with. One phrase that's been very helpful for me whenever I find myself in a tricky situation and I don't set the boundaries I need to do, the temptation is for me to get mad at myself. I didn't take care of myself. Gosh, why didn't I do that? And now I'm beating myself up. So I got it going and coming, right? I let my boundary be overstepped. And then after that, I beat myself up for doing that. One thing that I've shifted that's been really powerful is just to say, oh, they got me. Oh, they tried, just like a toddler. They're going to try again. Oh, they tried. They got me. It's okay. It's okay. Far worse for me to miss my moment to take care of myself and then beat myself up after that. Because then I've taken myself all the way down. Because ultimately, why does all this matter? Listen, remember our hierarchy of covenants conversation. This is a podcast from probably about a year ago. Hierarchy of covenants. To whom am I responsible? First and foremost to God. Okay. And if we are not connected with ourselves in our skin, honoring our boundaries, taking care of where I start and where I end, then it's real hard to connect with the Father. So I think self-care and connection to the Father go hand in glove. That's the conviction I've come to. I don't know if I knew that when we first did this episode last time. I think I was still kind of noodling on that, but that's where I've landed. Self-care. I'm laughing at my own self. If you're watching this on YouTube, I was putting on my makeup and I've got like eyeshadow smudged all over my hand. And I was trying to get it off, but it's just staying there like a nice brown mark. Okay, so anything for you guys. I put on my makeup just to talk to y'all. So, first, relationship with the Father. If we're married, we have a covenant with our spouse. And then if we have children, my personal conviction is that infant baptism is a parental covenant to raise those children up before the Lord. You might have dedicated your children, similar concept. And so that's first, second, third. God, which taking care of ourselves kind of has to go hand in glove with that. Husband, children. Okay. Then everybody else. The boundaries are a way of protecting that hierarchy. And what I said in that podcast episode, and I'll just recap it here real briefly, is if a lower order covenant is infringing upon and negatively affecting a higher order covenant, then a boundary is needed. Okay. And so I think way back when the example I used was similarly, if a beloved mother or grandmother is stopping by unannounced and it's causing disruption in the family schedule, the kids aren't getting their naps, or, mom and dad were going to have a date night and now we can't do that. If it's just every now and again and you could have a clear conversation about it anytime, great. But if it's starting to cause conflict and trouble on a regular basis, then a boundary is needed. And I think the thing that we have failed to truly embrace as believers, and it's just human beings, is that a boundary is not against someone else. It's simply an acknowledgement of where I start and someone else ends. Okay. And it doesn't have to be this big drawn out conversation with all of these consequences. It can literally be like, oh, shoot, yep, that doesn't work for us. We've really decided that this is the thing that's going to work best for our family. And so we're going to need to push to another day. I hate antagonistic boundaries. It's very gentle when I set a boundary. People often don't even notice that there's any sort of, big machination behind the scenes of like, I've done all the work on the front end to figure out what am I okay with? What am I not okay with? They don't dig into all that with me. I don't share that unless we're super duper close and there's a reason to. Generally speaking, it's just, yeah, I'm not available. You know what else we can do? We can just not answer the phone or not respond to the text messages. I remember when I was working in direct sales, I would have team members sometimes be like, I just have to let my customers know they cannot text me after 8 p.m. because then I see the text and I get all stressed out because there's a customer service issue and da 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 da. And I was like, do they have to know? What if you just don't pick up your phone after 8 p.m.? Right? What if you just put it on do not disturb? We don't have to yell at them. You're just not available. I had office hours the whole time I was in direct sales. I had office hours, 2 hours a day. But no one knew. I mean, if they asked me, I would tell them or they would start to pick up on it. But it wasn't anything I needed to announce to anybody because if they texted after hours, they'd just wait till the next day and then I'd respond. No problem. So, where do you need a little no problem in your life? Where do you need to just give them room to be who they are because you have the walls in place for where you are, where you start and where you begin and where you end. Okay? Another thing to keep in mind is what is it that you need from the people that you love? When is it enough? My dad, as many of you know, was sick and then paralyzed when I was in middle school. And that paraplegia, of course, lasted the rest of his life and caused a lot of challenges, including just changing the way that we were able to interact. He couldn't just come out and visit. He couldn't move me into college. He couldn't walk me down the aisle. We couldn't have a first dance. We did like when I got married, we did like some sort of dance, like we did shout. We danced to shout because that's more of like a group dance. Um, it changed a lot, and there were some things that we needed to work through because of that. And I remember reaching a moment where I was like, we hadn't worked through everything. We never would. But I remember sitting before the Lord and going, that's enough. We had a hard conversation we needed to have, one that I wasn't sure if we'd be able to or not. And he hung with me, he heard me, he honored me in it. And I was able to look at my husband and say, and look at the Lord and say, that was enough. It's enough. What is it you're looking for? How can you get it first, especially in your key relationships in your marriage, with your children, with your parents, siblings? What is it that you're looking for? How can you get it from the Father first? See, we miss that. We need it from the Lord first. We need it from the Lord fully. And from there, whatever little bits and pieces those that love us are able to give us, that's great. But our cup is already full. Our cup runneth over, right? We have all that we need. Oh, what's that verse? Pressed down, shaken over. Okay, hold on. We're looking it up. Okay, I got it. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, shall men give into your bosom. This is the King James Version. I just looked it up online. Let's see if I got another version I like better. Given it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For the measure you use, it will be measured to you. And how do we give? We have to receive first. From whom should we receive? Always the Father. The Father first, the Father only. And then we're able to give grace, to give the thing that we have lacked for all those years. And as we give it out, this is what's so fascinating about this process. As we give it out, we get it back. As we extend, because we kind of will withhold, right? I just want him to love me. I just want her to love me. Why won't they just take me as I am? Why won't they just show up for me? And as we withhold and pull ourselves away because they aren't doing the thing that we want and need, we're preventing them from giving what little they can because they feel that distance, that resentment, that hurt, that woundedness, and it creates an insecurity. It's like, I don't know what to do. What do they want from me? Right? Because even if we give them the language, even if we tell them, they would have given it already if they could, because they're doing the best they can. They don't have it to give. How do they come to have it to give? We can give it first. We receive from the Father, and then we can pour it out. That fullness comes to us first. All right, I'm looking at my notes. I wonder what else I had to say. Oh, this is so good. I wrote these bullet point thoughts, and I thought it was going to be multiple different podcasts. I'm like, no, it's all the same conversation. Okay. So listen, we're going to believe they're doing the best they can. We're going to watch those circles and recognize that what they're really seeking is connection. We're going to keep boundaries light and polite. Go over the top like we're blessing toddlers when they listen and honor the boundary. We're going to let it be enough. We're really going to decide, okay, can I just let this go? Just receive what's been given. It's sufficient because ultimately I got it from the Father first. And we're going to recognize, and this one I love, that there are things that we have become. There are ways we show up in the world. There are things we have received that we would not have had if our loved ones had not been exactly as they are. Deficits by our estimation and all. If we hadn't had that lack, would we have really sought the Father, the heavenly King of all, at the same level, with the same desperate need? Because ultimately, what we want is what only God can give. And so those gaps, those inabilities, those simply call us higher. We must have the need filled because we're made for an unseen kingdom, right? We were made for a heavenly home. We were made for perfection. No one's going to fill that void. So each of those gaps, each of those lacks calls us to the Father, the one who does not change like shifting shadows, the one who is filled with all the fullness and pours it out to us with abundant grace. So recognize this. All is gift, even the lack, even the hard, in them and in you. Don't give yourself a hard time when it gets you again. Just let it be. Today, they are where they are. We are where we are. And Jesus loves us. This we know, for the Bible tells us so. Okay? So, that's just a little bit on those tricky moments in my marriage with Brian, and we call them fun marriage moments. Those tricky moments where it just kind of doesn't come together right. It just gets a little bit tricky. Listen, hang in there with them. Hang in there with yourself. Be kind, be gracious. And if this resonated with you, if you're like, yep, I'm headed into some tricky this summer, or just been there this week, or gosh, I was just thinking about the Christmas holidays the other day, or if it comes up with friends, if it comes up with loved ones, whatever it is, let me know. Did you try some of these strategies? How did it work? I want to hear about it, okay? All right. Friend, you're doing great. Be kind to your sweet self, and remember, as always, you've got this because he's got you. Okay. Friend, thank you so much for listening to this most recent episode of Overwhelmed to Overcomer. So listen, the whole idea behind this mission is that when we endeavor to be brave with our lives, we need to do it together. Belonging is key. So if you resonated with the message from this episode, share it with a friend. Do it together. Thank you again, and never forget, you've got this because he's got you.